Hi everyone. As a teacher, something has been bothering me since last few weeks. There has been an increasing spate of student suicide across the country, particularly among students who have been preparing for competitive exams like IIT and NEET, and also students who are in higher education institutions like the IITs. We as a society need to answer two questions. Number one, what is that forcing these students to take such an extreme step? And number two, as parents, as teachers, and as society, are we failing them? This video series is all about how to improve learning outcomes of students so that a mediocre student becomes an average student becomes an above average student, and an above average student becomes an outstanding student. In this video series, we will talk about how to improve learning outcomes so that learning becomes more effective and efficient and students are not forced to take such an extreme step. In this particular video, we will talk about 4 learning myths that I will shatter today. So let's start with it. Before I start with the video and shatter the myths with respect to learning, let us see where do we stand as a country in the international level. Now, this is a particular report by Program for International Student Assessment, which is popularly called PISA. Now, this is conducted every year by OECD. This is an institution situated in Paris. Now, last time when we participated was in 2009, and we can see our ranking. It was 74 countries participated, and last was Kyrgyzstan, and India was at the bottom rung, that is 72 and 73. Now, the basic issue is why we were at the bottom rung. Now, if you want to transit towards a knowledge economy and attract more brain rather than brain drain, so we need to improve learning, and it starts at the very basic school level and across the learnings, whether it's your 10th exam, your 12th exam, or even the competitive exam. So that is why learning is so important, and we need to understand the basics, how to improve this learning so that we as a country also become globally competitive. So let's start with breaking the 4 myths about learning. Myth 1, IQ is the only thing that matters. Myth 2, failure is bad for you. Myth 3, forgetting is losing. Myth 4, more you study, better are the results. So let's start with myth 1, that IQ is the only thing that matters for learning and success. So how do you define success these days? Success in these days, in the contemporary world, is defined by your social status. आपका social status क्या है? And social status is defined with the kind of money, the kind of job you are doing, and also your educational attainment. So, for achieving this kind of success, does only IQ matters? Now, अगर हम IQ के बारे में बात करते हैं, so the first thing which that comes to our mind is about people like Einstein, Ramanujan, or Newton. But they were geniuses. What about rest of us guys? The average IQ for rest of the people is between 100 and 140. So people like us, can we achieve success? Now there are numerous examples. Now for example, OYO Room founder Ritesh Agarwal, who is a college dropout, has successfully founded a company, right? And it is the biggest hotel chain. He claims to have the biggest hotel chain in the whole world. So does his IQ, or he is a genius like Einstein? No. So now studies have proven that IQ is not the only thing which matters. It is something else which is called emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence or emotional quotient? The concept of emotional intelligence was given by Daniel Goleman in the year 1995. अब ये है क्या चीज और उन्होंने क्या बताया इसके बारे में? So for success, it is IQ is only 20-25%, but rest 75 to 80% depends upon your EQ or EI, that is emotional intelligence, right? So now IQ generally measures what? It measures your aptitude, reasoning, and if you take a test, वहाँ पे pattern matching वगैरह करनी पड़ती है. But EI is something else. Now, what does EI constitute? EI constitutes your self-awareness, self-reputation, social awareness, and relationship management. That is, IQ आपकी reasoning power, aptitude power, pattern matching आपको match कर रहा है. How good are you in decision making? But life is not all about that. आपको लाइफ में बहुत लोगों से मिलना पड़ता है एंड यू हैव टू मेंटेन दोज रिलेशनशिप. नाउ हाउ कैन यू मेंटेन दोज रिलेशनशिप इफेक्टिवली एंड एफिशिएंटली? इफ यू आर अवेयर अबाउट योरसेल्फ, हाउ आर यू थिंकिंग एट दैट पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम? हाउ यू कैन ऑलवेज जज कि वो बंदा जिससे आप मिलने जा रहे हो वो कैसे सोच रहा है. दैट ऑल्सो मैटर्स. This social capital is also necessary for your success, and you'll find many people who have not gone to colleges, many shopkeepers, many businessmen who might not have that kind of IQ, but they have emotional intelligence to understand the business, understand their customers, and again, so the most dangerous assumption that we can make about ourselves is if we fail, if we are not able to crack an exam, if we are not getting good grades, that I am stupid, I am not intelligent. But you need to understand one thing, कि बचपन से हम कुछ ना कुछ सीखते हुए आ रहे हैं, भले वो क्रिकेट हो या साइकिल चलाना हो. सो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हर एक चीज करने का एक तरीका, देयर आर रूल्स फॉर एवरी गेम. Similarly, if you want to do better in learning, efficient learning, so there are rules that you need to follow. अगर आपको ये rules पता होंगे, you can become a better learner. Now for that, for number one, you need to understand the rules, which we'll talk about in the subsequent videos. And number two, you need to have patience. जैसे साइकिल चलाते थे, बार बार गिरते थे, बार बार उठते थे, वैसे भी आपको लर्निंग जो है वो रूल्स आपको इम्बाइब करने पड़ेंगे. So for that, you need to have patience. So for improving learning, it's not important that you have a high IQ. You can even learn if you know the rules of the game. Now let's see myth number 2. Now the myth number 2 is that failure is bad for you. Many people are afraid of failures. They get into depression. But you need to understand is that people experience failure throughout their life. Not just exams, it could be relationships, it could be business, it could be any test, it could be any mock, any interview. But thing is, the path to success is not always straight. So we need to break this myth and need to understand that failure is an essential ingredient for the ultimate success that you will achieve. So when we see successful people, what do we see? हम सिर्फ जब वो पिनेकल में पहुंच जाते हैं सिर्फ वही देखते हैं, राइट? जो कहावत है ना, उगते हुए सूरज को सब प्रणाम करते हैं, वही बात है. वी जस्ट सी व्हेन दे आर सक्सेसफुल, बट व्हाट अबाउट द एफर्ट्स दे हैव पुट इट इन? आप देखोगे द रिस्क दे हैव टेकन, द फोकस, द गोल्स, परसिस्टेंस, द फेलियर्स इन द पाथ, द हार्ड वर्क. ये चीज हम सब लोग भूल जाते हैं, राइट? एंड वी जस्ट सेलिब्रेट दैट सक्सेस. You need to understand, for every success there are multiple failures because it is not a straight path. आप अगर एग्जाम की तैयारी कर रहे हो सकता है आप कोई पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन में वीक हो. अगर आप यूपीएससी की तैयारी कर रहे हो, मे बी यू आर वीक इन सर्टन सेक्शन, दैट माइट लीड टू अ फेलियर. सो हियर यू नीड टू इंट्रोस्पेक्ट अगेन. सो अगेन रिपीटिंग, व्हेनेवर यू टॉक अबाउट इवन लर्निंग, आप बहुत बार फेल हो सकते हो. गिटार बजाना सीखना है तो एक रात में तो गिटार बजाना सीखोगे नहीं, उसके पीछे बहुत हार्ड वर्क लगेगा, राइट? सिमिलरली इफ यू वांट टू क्रैक एन एग्जाम, यू नीड टू हैव ऑल दीज थिंग्स. यू नीड टू हैव फोकस, यू नीड टू हैव हार्ड वर्क. ये चीज अगर आप भूल जाओगे, आपको क्या लगता है आप एक दिन उठोगे, वन फाइन डे यू विल वेक अप एंड द सन विल बी शाइनिंग एंड यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट एट ऑल. So why failure is important for ultimate success, और failure आपको क्या सिखा सकती है? So there's a concept by the name of what we call productive failure. Now there were experiments conducted जिसमें स्कूल के बच्चों को दो पार्ट में डिवाइड किया गया एक पर्टिकुलर क्लास के, एंड दे वर गिवन मैथ्स प्रॉब्लम बाय देयर टीचर. One set of students were given direct instructions to the students how to solve that problem. In another group, they were allowed to collaborate and also to find a solution to the problem on their own. So what was the final conclusion of the result? It was seen that those students who were given a free hand, जिनको डायरेक्ट इंस्ट्रक्शंस नहीं दिए गए थे, उनका कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी वाज मच मच हायर देन द स्टूडेंट्स हु वर गिवन डायरेक्ट इंस्ट्रक्शंस बाय द टीचर, जिनको बता दिया ये स्टेप्स करो आंसर आ जाएगा, राइट? सो व्हाट इज द लर्निंग? लर्निंग इज दैट जो बच्चे हु आर अलाउड टू फेल, राइट, मे बी इनिशियली दे फाइंड प्रॉब्लम्स कि नहीं हो पा रहा था उनसे, बट when they started doing the question on their own, they self-reflected, they recognized the issue, and when the solution was presented by the teacher, तो वो उनको ज़्यादा अच्छा समझा, and they were able to retain it for longer period of time. Second is refocus, choose to move forward. Now thing is, जो teacher ने उनको समझाया, उसके बावजूद जो next concept था, they were able to grasp it with more focus, right? And reset. When they were learning collaboratively and were allowed to make mistakes, तो उन लोगों ने जो चीजें गलत करी थी वो समझ आया कि why were they doing these things wrong, and they were able to reset how to learn that particular set of problem and move on. So this particular experiment proves that failure is not bad, but it's how you perceive it and how you internalize the mistakes that you made over the period of time in solving that problem. So what is the whole conclusion of this experiment? That tough love approach is always successful to learning. आप अपने वर्ड को, अपने स्टूडेंट को डोंट गिव एवरीथिंग ऑन द प्लेट, कि आप सब कुछ उनको बता दो, हैंड होल्डिंग कर दो. अलाउ देम टू इंट्रोस्पेक्ट, अलाउ देम टू फेल, मेक मिस्टेक, लेट देम गेट फ्रस्ट्रेटेड. छोटे छोटे फ्रस्ट्रेशन अच्छे होते हैं लर्निंग के लिए, एंड व्हेन दे कमिट मिस्टेक एंड यू प्रोवाइड देम सोल्यूशन आफ्टर दैट, they will be able to grasp this concept and learn more efficiently and effectively over a period of time. Now let's move on to the next myth. What is the next myth? The third myth is forgetting is losing. Now there's a general misconception that if you are not able to recall a certain thing, any concept, that means you are failing, you are not able to learn. ऐसा नहीं है. Need to understand that brain is also a muscle. It needs to relax also. Moreover, you are bombarding the brain with so much information. So what does it do is, it filters out unnecessary, unproductive information. But for the information which you need to retain is, you need a lot of focus, right? And for that, to improve your memory, there are certain ways. As I said, learning is a process, there are rules. सो अगर आपको कुछ चीज़ याद रखनी है, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल बचपन में हमें सारे नंबर, फोन नंबर याद रहते थे एक टाइम पे, बट टुडे वी आर नॉट एबल टू रिकॉल इवन आवर मदर्स नंबर, फादर्स नंबर. हम कुछ नंबर ही याद कर लें, बहुत बड़ी बात है. सो व्हाट आर द वेज? वन वे इज एक्टिव लर्निंग, अनदर इज स्पेस्ड लर्निंग. I will talk about that in subsequent videos. But the thing which you need to understand right now is that you are bombarding your brain with too much information and you tend to lose focus. So what kind of bombardment I am talking about? Now these days you will see all the people, right from youngsters to even adults, always engaged in their phone. आप पढ़ाई कर रहे हो and the phone is on. Even youngsters, even 5-year-old kids are swiping on reels. So you need to understand, इतनी information overload हो रही है. So the brain also becomes, you can say, weak, or you can say it slows down. क्योंकि उसको इतनी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन फिल्टर आउट करनी पड़ती है, और कौन सी इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन है, इट गेट्स मिक्स्ड अप विद अनएसेंशियल और यू कैन से नॉट रेलेवेंट इंफॉर्मेशन विच यू आर गेटिंग वाया सोशल मीडिया. सो व्हाट यू नीड टू डू इज, इफ यू डोंट वांट टू बिकम गजनी, आप जो बार बार बोल रहे हैं भूल रहा हूं चीजें, राइट, एंड आई tell you that over a period of time the next generation will have issues of dementia also, क्या आप short term memory वो भी आ जाएगा. So you need to save yourself, stay away from phones and social media particularly if you want to improve your learning. phone अलग रख दीजिए, set a time limit, then only study, else what will happen is gajni. The fourth myth or the last myth is that more you study, better are the results. Now thing is, as I told you that muscle, जो आपकी brain है, it's also a muscle. So just draw an analogy. If you hit the gym, अगर आप ओवर वर्कआउट कर लोगे तो आपका जो मसल का साइज है वो छोटा रह जाता है. You won't get the results which you want. Similarly, if you study too much, आप 8 घंटे तक लगातार स्ट्रेच में बैठे हो, सो ब्रेन की भी एक कैपेसिटी है टू फोकस, राइट, बट इफ स्टडिंग फॉर सो लॉन्ग यू विल गेट व्हाट यू कॉल बर्न आउट. नाउ बर्न आउट इज डजंट मीन कि आपकी कोई एज उसकी है. इफ यू आर इवन यंग एंड यू आर टू मच इनटू बुक्स एंड विदाउट गिविंग योरसेल्फ अ ब्रेक एंड स्टडिंग टू मच, तो हो सकता है आपका बर्नआउट हो जाए. एंड व्हाट यू डू इज व्हेन यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस अ बर्नआउट, नथिंग इज रिटेन्ड. यू आर जस्ट स्टडिंग, यू आर सिटिंग ऑन योर डेस्क ऑन अ चेयर एंड जस्ट स्टेयरिंग एट द बुक पेज फॉर लास्ट 15-20 मिनट्स. देन सडनली यू रियलाइज कि अरे मैं तब से यहीं पे अटका हुआ हूं, राइट, और मे बी स्टेयरिंग एट द सीलिंग, व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, मे बी डे ड्रीमिंग. सो these are all symptoms of burnout. So what you need to do or understand is that you need to take short breaks, right? You need to have a hobby so that you re-energize your brain and you can retain the information and better learn whatever you are studying. Now even in UPSC, if we talk about specifically, what people do is they try to study one single thing from multiple sources. For example, अगर आप पॉलिटी पढ़ रहे हो, so maybe you refer Lakshmikant, then you start referring some other institution notes. Now the trick is, or the key is, to study one thing from a single source rather than multiple sources, because you won't be able to recall. So the gist is that more doesn't mean better. You need to be very efficient and effective with it, what kind of sources you are selecting, and repeat the process. Fine. With this, we come to the end of this video. In the next video, we'll talk about the strong foundations. What are the elements which we can help us in laying down a strong foundation for your learning that could help you in school, in college, or maybe even cracking any exam. Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned. Bye-bye.